Coming to you from a studio somewhere out there, it's Enough Already Radio with Fingers Malloy and Tracy O'Connor.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome once again to another Enough Already podcast. We're a little late this week because I attended the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC 2019 in National Harbor, Maryland. Tracy O'Connors.
You did. What's that all about?
It's the Super Bowl of conferences, Tracy. That's when conservative slash Republican activists get together and they listen to panel discussions, there are training sessions, and of course, speeches in the grand ballroom by big names, Tracy, like the guy from Pawn Stars or
Rick Harrison. I saw that.
Yeah, or the Mr. Pillow guy. The Mr. Pillow guy was there. I don't know if he spoke.
Did he give you a pillow?
No, he did not. My Pillow. Is it the My Pillow? My Pillow.
My Pillow, yes. No.
Yeah,
uh-oh.
Mr. Pillow, My Pillow. It's all the same. But it's a 4-day event, and it's held at the Gaylord National Harbor Resort. And they claim that 20,000 people were there over the course of the 4 days, which is possible, I guess. Listen, it's been a couple of years since you've been at CPAC, Tracy, right?
Yeah, 2016 was the last time I went.
I can tell you that attendance seemed down again from previous years.
Well, it is an off year.
But even last year, during the presidential election, it seemed to be off
last
as
year,
well.
Presidential election? What are you talking about?
Or 2016, excuse me.
Yeah. You thought 2016's attendance were down?
Everything has it seemed to been on a decline now for 3 or 4 years. It just feels that way. In previous years, it felt like if you were trying to walk through Radio Row, sometimes you would have to wait 2 or 3 minutes to try to get through the maze of people. But this year, you could just breeze right through. And things have really changed in the movement. Let me give you an example. Our good friend Cameron Gray, radio producer extraordinaire, was telling me a story. He was producing a show, producing Tony Katz's show this week on location. And he said it was unbelievable to watch someone like Diamond and Silk. They were walking through the crowd at CPAC, and they needed handlers and security to get them through the crowd.
Shut up.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened. Get this. So then...
Wait. Who acts as their security? Is it Dog the Bounty Hunter? Am I wrong, or did he make it to CPAC one year?
He was there last year, I believe, and he had this 5-foot walking stick. He was carrying around like a staff.
Right? A staff.
Yes, yeah. He was walking around with a staff. He looked like Moses. He was going to part the CPAC Red Sea as he was trying to get through the crowd. But anyway, Diamond and Silk this year, they're walking through, and they're mobbed by people. And they've got their handlers, and they're trying to get them through. He said 20 minutes later, Glenn Beck walk through with security, and nobody was trying to get to Glenn Beck. Just to think about 3, 4, 5 years ago, how Glenn Beck would have been mobbed. And say what you want about Glenn Beck. I know there are a lot of people that can criticize him, and there are a lot of reasons to criticize Glenn Beck. But still, here's a guy that is a gifted broadcaster who was the darling of the right for quite some time, and he just breezed right through. Nobody's trying to bother him at all. But Diamond and Silk, boy oh boy, they need Secret Service detail to follow him. So it was wild, but I just don't think that there were as many people there, and I think part of the problem. Well, I think there are two problems, Tracy. One is the conservative / Republican movement is still kind of fractured. There are still people that are pissed off about Trump and think that this is nothing but a 3-day, 4-day Trump pep rally, and they don't want to be a part of it. And the other thing, too, I wonder if they're really starting to price themselves out of the – I mean, you look at the area – National Harbor is very fun to go to a conference. They've got bars in the area, but all the hotels are like $300 a night. So if you stay for the whole conference, it's minimum $1,200 for a hotel. The conference ticket itself is I think a few $100s, maybe just a couple $100. I'm not sure. And then between food and liquor, if you're the type of person who likes to dance with Lady Liquor, it's a $2,000 trip.
Yeah, and that doesn't count airfare or traveling, any of that kind of stuff.
Right. So maybe it's getting to the point where people are just looking at it and saying, I can't afford to do this. But Trump was there. He spoke for 2 hours.
And I know you mentioned, they have panels and speakers at all these things. How many of those things did you attend?
None.
Okay. So you're keeping that record, right?
Well, I've been doing, I believe this is my 10th CPAC.
Wow.
And it's the same speech over and over again, just different faces, different names. So after a while, you get bored of that, and the panels are basically the same year in, year out. So I had to do Radio Row for Wham Talk 1600 on Thursday. And I had 2 hours on Radio Row to do my show, and then I also produced the Smart Girl Politics podcast on Ricochet. So I spent 2 hours helping them record their show, and then I was out of there. I didn't go back to CPAC.
Did you get to interview anybody interesting?
I had some interesting interviews but they nothing really. Not a lot of big names. It's tough because you can get media names if they happen to be there. Our friend Tony Katz was on the show. Other than that, there was an author, Jeff Reynolds, who writes for PJ Media, who wrote a book called Behind the Curtain. It talks about dark money. That was an interesting conversation. But, when they see the banner in the back and it says Ann Arbor, Detroit, normally if it's a politician, they want to talk to their constituents. And so there aren't a lot of Republican / right-wing politicians in the Ann Arbor, Detroit area. So
no,
you kind of lose out on those people. And so, no, but I think I had 6 or 7 interviews and it went well. And then the following day we went to a place called Shelley's Back Room, which is a cigar lounge. It's supposed to be an institution in Washington, D.C. It's been there forever, and it's where the backroom deals are made, Tracy. And
that's why it's called Shelley's Back Room.
See,
they're just that blatant about it.
That's what they do. And we recorded Tony's Eat, Drink, Smoke podcast there, and that was a phenomenal experience because it was like raining bourbon and cigars, and we're in this room that probably a lot of shady deals have been negotiated over the years over a cigar and bourbon. So, but that was cool. But all in all, look, it's an interesting conference for someone who is a political nerd, and they welcome left-wingers to the conference. I believe it was a few years ago. Well, actually more than a few years ago. I saw Rachel Maddow walking around, just checking out the exhibitor area. It's not bad if you're a political nerd and you enjoy that sort of thing, and you'll be able to see some speeches and attend some panels. So I recommend going there at least once. I enjoyed going there for the opportunity to be on Radio Row and do my show, and then there are a lot of extracurricular activities that are fun. Lots of think tanks have happy hours, and there was a huge party there's a big rooftop bar / discotheque club. I don't know what you call those things. It's not my thing. But they had a big party up there the last night of CPAC. So it's very interesting. But like I said, Mike Pence spoke. Michelle Malkin gave a speech where she riled some feathers.
Riled, ruffled?
Ruffled. Why did I say riled? I'm sorry. I'm completely. I'm recovering from the CPAC flu. 4 days of getting 3 hours sleep a night, and then it's a germ factory. People are. I mean, 20,000 people. And then you go to the airport twice on top of it, and then I took a super shuttle in. So
you have AIDS now.
Pretty much. Cuban super AIDS. Ruffled some feathers. Jesus Christ. So she was criticizing the Washington establishment and saying that Republicans are not above criticism. I mentioned Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and the ghost of John McCain. Paraphrasing. But that's essentially what she said. Well, S.E. Cupp, friend S.E. Cupp, took exception to that and called it hate-filled, those comments. Now, does that sound hateful?
No. I watched her speech. I know that you apparently didn't, so I watched it for you. I think I spent more time watching CPAC speeches over the weekend than you did.
I appreciate that.
And I do my homework. I didn't think it was particularly hateful. I thought she was just being honest, and that's Michelle. She's been a fighter for as long as I can remember following her. She doesn't pull punches. And that's what she was doing. And it was in the context of immigration reform, right?
Yes. And the funny thing is that, well, first of all, I want to know what the rules are. I mean, it's not like John McCain died yesterday. He's been gone for a while now.
Yes.
It's from the Mediaite column. Malkin focused much of her speech on slamming undocumented immigrants and politicians who defend their right to stay in the U.S. Both parties are to blame, Malkin said of undocumented immigrants. Yes, I'm looking at you, retired Paul Ryan, and yes, I'm looking at you, Mitch McConnell, and yes, I'm looking at you, Bush family. I'm looking at you, the ghost of John McCain. That's it. How is... I don't understand where those remarks are offensive, how they can be considered offensive, unless you are BFFs with Meghan McCain. But I want to know what the rules are. Can I make a comment about the ghost of Ted Kennedy? Is that allowed? Because enough time has passed. Am I allowed to criticize the ghost of Ted Kennedy? What are the rules?
I think so. We don't have rules here, so I don't know why you're even wondering how we play by other people's rules.
So for an hour, I guess, Michelle Malkin and S.E. Cupp get into a Twitter battle. And I think it's pretty safe to say that it's unwise to get into a Twitter battle with Michelle Malkin because she will gut you like a fish.
Yes. Without a doubt.
That was one of the headlines out of the conference. Slamming the ghost of John McCain.
Well, the interesting thing to me, you say don't get in a fight with Michelle Malkin because she'll gut you. Mm-hmm. But it's also interesting how much more of a following she has on social media than S.E. Cupp does. And S.E. Cupp has her own television show.
Right.
So it shows you the power of conventional media versus new media and how much people actually care about what those people say. And if you look at somebody like, I'm constantly looking at Brian Stelter, his stupid little tweets, and you look at the engagement level on them and you're like, oh, wow. You know, he's got hundreds of thousands of followers. Some tweets get 2, 3, 4 retweets.
Well, in situations like this, it's you need to look at who these people appeal to. And that's right. Part of it, too, is, you know, back when S.E. Cupp first started, you know, she was a fixture on Red Eye, always in the leg chair. She was like this new generation of conservative women. And then she made the switch, right? She was on that show, what was it called? The Cycle? Over at MSNBC. And now she is doing all this work at CNN. And
she's on Headline News, right?
No, she's on CNN now.
Oh, she had a daily show on Headline News that got demoted to
Right.
just a weekly show on CNN or something.
Well, what do you think is the better gig? A daily show on Headline News or a 6 p.m. show Saturdays on CNN?
It's hard to say. I think there's more prestige if you have a daily show.
Even if it's on a lesser network, and we'll pretend for a second that Headline News is a lesser network than CNN.
Is it really, though? I don't know.
10 years ago, that's easy to distinguish the two. But now it's like, oh, geez, I don't know. I think I'd rather have a daily on Headline News. I mean, that's where Beck started his daily show before he went to CNN, and of course that blew up, and then he left to start the Blaze. But this,
I don't know. I think there's some cachet to having a daily show.
Yeah,
that means people want to hear your takes every day of the week. Fingers.
That's true.
Not just Saturday nights.
So I've got the tweet pulled up. CPAC was once a place to exchange conservative ideas. Now it's a place for mean-spirited garbage.
That sounds about right.
That's S.E. Cupp's tweet. And Michelle Malkin responded by saying, useless virtue signaler abetting our destruction said what? So...
And did S.E. respond to that or no?
Figures I just closed it up. From what I understand, they went at it for an hour. I don't know if you want me to go down.
No, it's quite all right.
But SE made the pivot to become more mainstream and try to make everyone happy. And when you do that, you make no one happy.
Yeah.
You know? You're never going to be fully accepted by the left because you still claim to be a conservative. So that's bad. And then it feels like you're turning your back on the right. So you're going to...
Because you are.
Yeah, because you are. And so you're pissing off people on the right. So then you've got the diehard right-wingers who are big Michelle Malkin fans who are going to circle the wagons. And... at that point, S.E. Cupp gets ratioed on Twitter. That's how it works.
Do we need to explain ratioing? Do you think that everybody knows what that means?
You put a comment out there on Twitter thinking you are making sense, and you basically get slammed by almost everyone in response.
So it's the ratio of retweets to comments.
Right.
The ideal is having way more retweets than comments.
Yeah.
But if you see a tweet that's got 2 or 3 retweets and 700 comments,
all
that's the ultimate ratioing. Yes.
So, yeah. But, this led to an interesting conversation I had at dinner when this whole thing happened. And we were talking about John McCain. And
his ghost or...
No, the actual John McCain and his career and his life. And, towards the end there, it's so hard to analyze his career at the end with that healthcare bill, because that healthcare bill was a bad bill. And it was probably good that it didn't pass. But his vote, the passage of that vote in a lot of ways, or passage of that bill was determined by his vote. And John McCain, if that healthcare bill would have been the Hillary Clinton healthcare bill with the exact same language, I think we all know what would have happened. He would have gotten in front of a microphone, gotten in front of a camera, and told the American people what a good bill it was. But instead, because this was a Donald Trump-led fight, he made the grand entrance and then put his thumbs down to show everybody he was voting no. And it was more about personality and ego than about the bill.
He was all about ego. We talked about that. How long did he stay out of the Senate? The man was terminal and wouldn't give up his seat and spent, 8 months back in Arizona,
something like that,
on his deathbed, just holding on to that seat. So, are we not allowed to say these things?
Apparently, we're not. We're being mean-spirited.
I think Meghan McCain already blocked me on Twitter, so I'm not really worried about her coming after us.
She blocked me years ago, so and she's now a darling on the right, and I don't understand any of it.
Well, I have a little bit more respect for her than I do for SE Cup, because I think Meghan McCain is willing to stake out positions that aren't necessarily what the mainstream would like. Like, I've seen her fight with people on The View and push back. And that's really the only venue that exists where you can do that, where you have some dumb actors on there spouting off about stuff. And she's not afraid to call them out when they're wrong about things. And I can't imagine, maybe she would do it, but I can't imagine SE Cup doing that sort of thing. So I do respect Meghan for those kind of things. But this butthurt, the constant whining about it, it's just like, suck it up. Your dad chose that job, and then he chose to behave the way that he did. Just live with it.
I think Donald Trump can be criticized for being thin-skinned. I think that he can be criticized for being an egomaniac, but I don't think he's any different than John McCain or Barack Obama, other than the fact that maybe he's less polished at.
Yeah.
Other than that, every bit the ego John McCain he had. That there's no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind, and people can disagree with me all they want, that he would have been all for that health care bill if that were President Hillary Clinton's health care bill. And
yes,
and Republicans.
My friends, we need to pass this.
Yeah. This is the best we can do, my friends. Let's put partisanship aside, my friends. And he'd get on MSNBC and he'd be the maverick.
Yes.
So just stop with the bullshit. Stop with putting him up on a pedestal as if he was some sort of conservative icon. He wasn't. And it's... I get tired of, apparently, that we cannot criticize him. Gone now for quite some time. Okay, maybe not in the first day, but we can't assess what his political career was 8 months after his passing. We can't criticize it at all. Bullshit.
I'm telling Essie and Meghan on you.
Well, I'm sure Meghan doesn't give. Oh, I'm sure. Essie probably doesn't care anymore. I just, at least she still follows me on Twitter. I guess I should be about.
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I haven't been blocked yet. But
she just forgot to unfollow you.
Probably. Well, I'm insignificant, I'm sure, so it doesn't really matter, my criticism. But and that will probably be coming across as mean-spirited, just by saying, you know what, I don't get it. I don't get. We can't criticize a man that's been dead for 8 months. That's the new rule.
At what point do you become uncriticizable, to make up a word? You were allowed to criticize him while he was alive. What's the difference?
That's quite a window when you think about it. I mean, because how long was he sick?
I don't remember when he first got sick. I just think I remember, I think he left the Senate in December and didn't come back, and then he passed away in August or September.
So he was gone for 8 months. No, and I'm not dead for 8 months, but gone for 8 months he wasn't attending anything at the United States Senate in Washington. He was sick before that for, I don't know, maybe a year.
Yeah.
So for a year and 8 months while he was still with us, but sick, we couldn't criticize him. And now 8 months after his passing, apparently, we're still not able to criticize him.
No, but you can spend all day, every day criticizing Trump if you want to.
Yeah. Now,
so I don't understand why you're allowed to criticize the living but not the dead.
Beats me. Yeah, at this point, do you think he cares?
I don't think so.
Really? I know it's more for, the wife and the daughter that were not criticizing him. But, at some point, life moves on. I've lost a parent. It's awful. But at some point, you have to move on with your life. And you have to realize that when your father was in the United States Senate since sometime in the 1860s.
Yeah.
It's a long political career, which at some point will be criticized. And it should be okay. But that was headline number one of the headlines out of CPAC, and the other one was Trump's 2-hour speech.
How much of that did you watch?
Not 2 hours of Trump's speech. I saw some highlights, but I don't know how. Look, did you watch the whole thing?
No, I watched the first hour or so of it. C-SPAN is kind enough to let you watch stuff at 1.5 and 2 times speed.
Uh-huh.
So when I was cleaning over the weekend, I'm like, oh, I can listen to him at 2 times speed. And got through about an hour of it. I'm like, I know the gist, but it was funny as hell. And I have to tell you, this morning watching my favorite cartoon show, Morning Joe, they played Saturday Night Live, had done Weekend Update. They talked about the speech, and they were playing clips of the speech. And the Saturday Night Live audience was howling, laughing at it. Because he's that damn funny. It was like a 2-hour stand-up routine. And yet these are the people that don't seem to understand that when he said, hey, Russia, if you're listening, please get a hold of Hillary's emails. They're still this morning talking about how that wasn't a joke. That was so serious. I mean, people have no sense of humor whatsoever. Saturday Night Live audience got it. They laughed at him harder than they laughed at whatever his name is that does Weekend Update these days.
Were they laughing with him or at him?
That doesn't really matter. The idea is that he's funny. Well, and I don't remember what clips they had pulled, but it wasn't like they were cutting stuff together to make it even more ridiculous. It was just, here's the ridiculous things that the president's saying. But I don't know. They did have the clip of him talking about Russia. You know, if you can get the emails, we want to see your emails.
Apparently, I talked to a few people in the room at the time after it happened, and he had the room for the whole 2 hours.
Yeah.
It was, people weren't bored. They weren't trying to get out of there. I just can't imagine listening to a speech for 2 hours. But
I think you just kind of lose track of time because he's so ADD when he speaks that he jumps all over the place. You have no idea where it's going. So it gets exciting because it's Space Mountain where you can't see the next turn coming.
Yeah. So he, at one point, did a Jeff Sessions imitation.
Yeah, I'm recusing myself. I mean, that's all he did. It was 1 or 2 words that he said in a Southern accent. It wasn't this prolonged, like, oh, Mr. President, I'm so sorry. I need to recuse myself.
I love your Southern gentleman accent.
Oh, thank you kindly. I've worked on it for a long time.
My
name is Jefferson. What was it? Jefferson Beauregard Sessions.
Yeah. I still like your Russian accent the best, though.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. Well, listen, you tune in tonight. There was a story that came out this week that I did not include in our show prep. But CNN had picked up some what they call Russia state TV program.
Yeah.
Talked about Trump meeting with Kim Jong-un. And what I realized when I watch clip of Russians, first of all, don't know if I can trust translation because who knows.
Right.
But second, it sounds just like CNN panel. It was uncanny. But how do we know that I'm not watching CNN just because these people are dressed like it's 1992 and their set's really shitty? That's the only thing that gives away that they're Russian. Otherwise, they have the same exact reaction to the Trump Kim Jong-un meeting that our media did.
Did they go to break playing Color Me Bad?
No, Milli Vanilli.
Oh, nice. Oh, good Lord. So, yeah, and the other thing he said, of the many things that he said during his speech, was that the Mueller investigation is bullshit.
Yes.
And he said bullshit.
Yes, Mika Brzezinski was very scandalized by that this morning. I kid you not. She said the president used some profane language.
Okay. I'm not fond of the president using profanity.
Because you have children.
Because you have children, and, I have children, and...
so I don't have a problem with it. You can say bullshit on network television now. They drop F-bombs on TV now.
I know, but it's the president. It would be nice if he would not use the word, any kind of profanity. You want to watch a speech with your kids in the room, and it would be nice if he didn't talk that way, but I'm not offended by it. To act like Mika. Mika's never heard that type of language before.
No.
There's no doubt in my mind at some point Mika has thrown a hot cup of coffee in an intern's face.
Yes.
His coffee tastes like bullshit. I asked for a low soy latte. Is there such thing as a low soy latte? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Not one of those fancy coffee drinkers. But she's offended, apparently, huh?
Yeah.
We were
stern and concerned about it.
We were doing the Eat, Drink, Smoke podcast, and the people, Tony Katz and April D. Gregory are part of that show, and Tony had never seen the scandalous photo of Mika and Joe, that promo photo where he's sitting in his chair with his legs crossed.
She's on the piano.
Yeah. He had never seen that photo before, and then we were thinking of trying to. We're thinking of a way maybe to recreate that photo at Shelly's back room.
Oh God!
Except Tony was going to be the one on the piano with his legs crossed.
Oh God!
But they didn't have a table that would work. But I'm really surprised. Are you trying to pull up the photo now?
I'm looking for it. Yeah, it's hard to find, actually.
And it's probably been scrubbed.
Of course. We'll dig it up.
But she looks like a little sex pot in that photo. Mm-hmm. And he's sitting there with a smirk on his face. Sure thinking about his a new song he's going to be writing.
Of course.
This killer band. But that right there, looking at that photo, I look at it thinking, oh yeah, there's a woman who would be offended by the use of the word bullshit.
This is a man that said he saw the scars and blood from her facelift. She thinks he's incapable of saying bullshit.
Yeah.
Is it a piano or a table?
It's a table.
Okay. Why did I think it was a piano?
Because wasn't there a famous scene like that from the Fabulous...
Was it the Fabulous Baker Boys?
Baker Boys, yeah.
Yeah, yes. You are correct.
So... I just don't know how do you produce a show like Morning Joe every day? You watch that show religiously, right?
If I'm awake, and yeah, I know. I put it on in the background in the morning when I'm getting ready.
What percentage of that show daily is outrage?
Oh, 90%, I'd say.
Wouldn't that get exhausting?
You would think.
It's going to be a long 6 years for them.
They don't seem to have lost any momentum whatsoever. The outrage hasn't been dialed back. They always find something new to be upset about, or they revisit the same thing in a different way and get upset about that all over again.
There was lots of talk at the conference among the attendees that I was able to have a conversation with over a drink over the state of cable news.
Uh-huh.
And how it is nearly unwatchable now.
Oh, it's terrible.
It was one thing to have the show Crossfire, which for a long time, ran on its own. But now we have a dumbed down version of Crossfire. And it's on every network almost 24 hours a day. There's rarely any news anymore. It's just analysis of narrative. Yeah. And we have 4 people on to talk about it, and they're all stepping on each other's dicks, yelling and screaming, and they try to make themselves, each person tries to say something more outrageous to make themselves stand above the crowd, whether you're, saying someone will vote for Donald Trump, will wake up the next day feeling like they have hungover with herpes, or filing your nails on camera while someone else is trying to make a point. It's unwatchable. My dad has tried to turn me on to One American News. Have you ever watched One American News?
I've seen clips from it, and a friend of the show, Jack Posobiec, he's one of their reporters, and he's usually got stuff a day or two ahead of everybody else, like legitimate things, like breaking news.
Well, it definitely comes from a right-wing perspective, but what I actually enjoy about One American News is during the day, it's very rare that they have these stupid-ass panels. It just is like a news wheel. They have an anchor who anchors for an hour, and it has a little bit of a BBC America feel to it, too, where a lot of stories that are not domestic. It's more international news, and it's actually it's news.
You mean like last week they actually talked about how tensions were growing between India and Pakistan?
I'm sure
2 nuclear-armed nations.
I'm sure they probably covered that instead of President Trump's tweet.
Yes.
And let's have 5 people on to slam President Trump's tweet, including 2 people who claim to be Republicans who actually hate Donald Trump, but they claim to be Republicans, so at least we could say we're being balanced.
Right. No, they don't even try to play that game on MSNBC.
No, they don't, and I respect them for that. CNN still pretends that they're being objective, and it's a joke.
Of course. Oh, and speaking of, I think we predicted this, that Bernie Sanders had his town hall.
Yes.
And guess what? CNN stacked the audience.
He's such a pussy.
He really is.
This is the worst revolutionary in the history of revolutionaries.
And I don't know if it's just that he's a pussy or he's lazy or it's a combination thereof. Because actually fighting these people requires that you put in some effort. Like, I know I've talked about it before, but I was still so impressed with Jill Stein at the DNC in Philly in 2016. It was 95 degrees and like 90% humidity out there, and that woman's marching all over the place. And she did it every single day. She was up against the wall that they erected around the DNC to keep the unwanted, the unwashed, all the Bernie people out. These are the people that are saying walls don't work.
Right.
But there was Jill Stein right up against that wall, Cornell West. Like, these are real revolutionaries. They wouldn't give in. If Jill Stein had been in Bernie's place, there's no way she would have bent down and kissed the ring of Hillary and stood in that hall and praised her and then taken a private jet all over the country to stump for her.
No, the first 5 minutes of that CNN town hall should have been Bernie Sanders burning down CNN.
Yeah, I agree.
You guys screwed me over.
But we both knew that he wouldn't do it.
Ugh.
No, what should it have been now?
You guys screwed me over in 2016. I really shouldn't be here. But I want an opportunity to talk to the American people. So I'm accepting your invitation, but I'm reluctant to accept your invitation. I was reluctant to accept this invitation because you're a dishonest media organization who takes sides, and he took sides in 2016, and that's not acceptable. Should have.
We'll send that over to Bernie's people. Finger.
Jesus Christ. How do you just sit there and take it again, you bitch?
I'm sorry, did you just call Bernie Sanders a bitch?
Yes. He took it like a
S.A. Cup
bitch.
on you.
What's wrong with you? Stick up for yourself, for Christ's sake. CNN bent you over in 2016. And you said, "Thank you, sir, may I have another?" They pegged you.
Oh, God.
That's what they did. And you said, "Thank you." Good Lord, what is wrong with you?
This is the only way to get health care to all the American people, Fingers. You don't understand. Health care for everyone.
There's no way he gets the nomination. Now, does he?
It's really hard to predict. Honestly, I don't know. He did the Breakfast Club show this morning. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's a radio show.
No.
Hosted by the God and Charlemagne the God and two other people who I don't know. Charlemagne's the most famous of them. But it's a black radio show that's pretty popular in the morning. So I was on Twitter looking at the reactions to this because this whole reparations issue has come up now.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is in the race to the far left and
Right.
also to see who can give away the most free stuff, right?
Right.
So I think now they've got Elizabeth Warren's on record talking about it. Kamala Harris is on record talking about it.
Yeah.
And so Bernie was asked about it today in the interview. And he was on there for like 40 minutes. So I've only seen a couple clips of this. And back in 2016, he kind of dodged and said he doesn't think it's fair to just give out money to certain groups and not other groups because other people have been oppressed, and which is reasonable.
Yes.
But he said the same sort of thing today. He said, if we did this, then we'd have to give reparations to indigenous people. So I wanted to see what the reaction was going to be. I read a couple different blog posts on, I think, like the Griot and Bossip. I don't know if The Root did a story about it yet or not, but none of them really had any reaction to the reparations line per se. But Black Twitter had some reaction to it. And that's always been one of the slights against him. Oh, he's just an old white guy. And, you know, the Democrat Party has no place for old white men these days. And especially not old white men who aren't willing to give blacks reparations, because it would mean they'd also have to give reparations to indigenous people. So the reaction I saw is, why is that a problem? Let's just give it to indigenous people too. This isn't the right answer, sir. Everybody gets a check. If you can prove oppression, you're getting a check.
And will they have a chart?
I don't know. I don't know if people are going to have to go do, like, you know, 23andMe genealogy things to prove this. I mean, this is such, I don't know how you administer this program at all. I really don't.
What if you just have high cheekbones? Are you allowed to get any kind of reparations for that? I mean, without having the 23andMe test. Because I hear just having a picture of yourself with your application, your job application, can further your career. You don't understand. I have high cheekbones.
My Aunt B told me they came from our Cherokee ancestors.
No, there's no way Elizabeth. And again, I guess maybe I should take a step back, because these are Democrats, and you can get away with damn near anything if you're a Democrat. And I mean, the fact that the governor of Virginia is still in office right now is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. But I find it hard to believe, after Bernie Sanders kissed Hillary's ring, and people have now hijacked much of what he was talking about in 2016. Now that it's part of their campaign, it's their policies, it's their platform. I think he'll be kicked to the curb. I don't know how Elizabeth Warren can possibly win the nomination after all of her shenanigans regarding her claiming that she was a Native American. When what was the percentage, Tracy?
I believe it was 1,024.
I mean, the left. I wouldn't think the left would stand for that.
No.
But, I mean, there's especially when you've got 35 people running for president.
Yes.
There's someone else out there.
Hickenlooper announced today.
Who did?
Hickenlooper.
Who did?
We've all been waiting on that. Hickenlooper. I believe he was the governor of Colorado.
President Hickenlooper.
Looper.
Looper. Excuse me.
Hickenlooper.
Hickenlooper. There's no way we are ever going to have a President Hickenlooper.
He thinks that you're wrong.
Oh, sure. I don't have the guy's name in front of me, but it looks like the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, is running for president.
Oh, he already announced. Bootlateague or whatever his name is.
You can't honestly think you're going to make the leap from mayor of South Bend, Indiana, to president of the United States.
This is all profile raising and potentially getting a book deal.
Has to be.
Right?
The Art of the Grift.
Yes.
It's our new book coming out next year.
Oh, speaking of, did you see where DeBlasio's wife has made disappear like $850 million?
No, I did not.
Oh, yeah. Sorry if I did not include that in the show prep docs that we share. But yeah, so the Daily Mail had a headline. Let me jump to it. Oh, I love wonderful technical difficulties. Yeah, has $850 million gone? Bill de Blasio's wife can't account for a staggering amount of taxpayer money that the New York mayor gave her for mental health projects. So I tweeted this out and I said, AOC really needs to up her game. Her whole deal with her boyfriend, whatever, fiance, Riley Roberts or Riley, whatever his name is, he got $6,000 out of that whole deal. This is $850 million. Just poof. So they're saying his wife, her name is Shirlane, maybe? I don't know how to pronounce this. It's Chirlane. So Shirlane. Cannot explain where $850 million given to the mental health program she champions has gone. Oops.
Oh, that'll happen.
Yeah, I've lost $850 million before. I'm sure you have too, right, Fingers? So they say, despite that, the program's been greenlit to continue on. And it's on track to spend $1 billion over the next 5 years.
What are they spending it on?
Nobody knows. So they were supposed to figure out how effective like the city's mental health facilities are. And no. They didn't do that. But
wow.
They managed. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And these people think that they can run. They want to take more money so they can give you more stuff in return with no accountability whatsoever. And, he's thinking about running too.
I talked to a New York blogger about the idea of Bloomberg running for president and the idea of de Blasio running for president. And she, of course, is floored that either one of them would run, leaning more towards Bloomberg, obviously, because when you have Bloomberg's money, he's sitting back thinking, I actually have political experience. I'm clearly smarter than Donald Trump. I can be president. I should be president. I should be president instead of Donald Trump. He's an idiot. I'm smart.
Well, I'm sure he's thinking that, but reality also has got to hit him. How's he going to come out on top of that gigantic field?
Money.
Outside of New York, what's he known for? But look at Hillary outspent Trump by what, 2-1? Maybe more? Money is not the end all be all anymore.
Well, I get that on a national level as far as the general, but you could get them a long way during the primaries.
Potentially. But you put him on a debate stage and you got to stand him on 3 apple boxes. He's a tiny. Everybody knows this, right?
Yes.
Yes. So,
well,
I don't know.
To me, he looks like a left-wing Steve Forbes. And I love Steve Forbes.
Yeah, Steve Forbes is great.
But not the most charismatic cat in the world.
No, and you're going to need charisma to beat Trump.
You're going to need charisma to get the Democratic nomination. I mean, have you seen Kamala Harris dance in a chair? With that laugh? Oh, good God. What a mess. By the way, I just bought, while we were doing the show here, I just purchased theartofthegrift.com.
Oh, good.
So it'll be one more domain that I'll sit on and not use.
We could put out a Nancy Trump book with that name. I bet you we could get on Morning Joe.
Right?
Sure. Well, that's the latest front, right? So we've pretty much established that the Mueller report is going to be disappointing, that there's really nothing all that much in it. So now we're on to new, old things again. We're back to, we need to see the taxes.
Right.
We need to see his financials. So you and I could get ahead of that and just write The Art of the Grift right now.
Well, look, it wouldn't bother me to see his tax returns. I wouldn't mind.
I don't know what they think is going to be in there. Direct payment to Vladimir Putin.
They want to see. Look, there are years where he, I'm sure, paid a tremendous amount of money in taxes, and then there are other years that I'm sure he didn't pay anything, just because of the way the tax laws are. And that's what they want to do. They want to point. They want to cherry pick the years where, like, oh my God, look, he paid $33 in taxes one year.
I'm sure it happened. Well, you remember months ago, the New York Times did a whole gigantic, long story about the history of all the different tax loopholes that the Trump organization, starting with his father, made use of. It was 5,000, 8,000 words, and I weeded through the whole thing. And it's just like, in there, they say the IRS has looked at it. They've been audited over the years and found no issues whatsoever. But we need to see those things. We need to see them right the hell now. That was one of the questions they asked Bernie during his town hall, is when can we see your tax returns? And he, of course, well, we don't have fancy accountants, so I don't have them just lying around. And I thought to myself, I don't know about you, Fingers, but I have copies of all of my stuff.
Yes.
Just have that after you've done them. What do you mean? He's like, oh, my wife does them, so it's going to take us some time to put that together. You've already submitted them, sir. So where are the copies? We need to find them. We don't know which one of the houses we left them in. Wow. Give us some time to get back to you. Seriously, you know how easy it is to lose stuff when you have multiple homes?
Of course. I lose stuff in my car.
Imagine if you had a beach house.
Oh, this is going to be such a fun primary season to watch. We were talking that there's a good possibility we may be going to cover the Iowa caucuses. Tracy, you got to come along. You got to figure this out because it's going to be outstanding.
I'm going full on socialist there, right? Well, this is the kind of stuff that I would wear, something like this, to one of their events. Like I remember I went to the national gathering, which was for Occupy Wall Street. They had their national gathering in Philadelphia, and I wore a T-shirt that said, "Keep calm, kill zombies." Mm-hmm. And it was a commentary on the people that I knew I would be interacting with, them being the zombies and me being the one staying calm. Uh-huh. And I can't tell you how many of them were like, "Oh, I totally love your shirt." So sweet. Thank you. Thank you. You just, you blend.
Right.
But I like, you got to troll at the same time.
Yeah. Well,
so I would imagine they would think, oh, it actually looks like a Democrat socialist shirt, but it's 1984. And I don't expect them to know that.
But if we have, that will be early. So all 35 candidates will be running. If I had any kind of budget, this would be a great time to make a documentary and just bounce around to these different campaign events and talk to some of these zombies, Tracy. And
you can do that. You don't need a big budget.
You don't?
No.
Film it on an iPhone?
Yeah. Put the whole thing up on Periscope, cut it later. Fine.
Fine, that's fine.
It is.
We could put it on theartofthegrift.com.
Yes. You realize you guys are all being hoodwinked here, giving Bernie Sanders. I can't remember what his reoccurring monthly payments are from his adoring fans. I want to say it's close to $1 million in reoccurring donations.
He has diehard fans that are still willing to back him financially. I just think that he lost a lot of them, and they have moved on.
I don't. Who are they moving on to?
Maybe a Cory Booker, maybe but they all have issues. Like Kamala Harris has to answer the questions about her record on criminal justice. You brought up that piece last week by 2 Live Crew's Luther Campbell. And to be cool with throwing parents in jail because their kids skip school.
Yeah.
That's some serious shit. So I'm sure that will turn off some people. Cory Booker, look, I don't know his record in Newark. Do you?
No.
Not a lot. I mean, I'm sure.
I know that Newark's still a shithole.
Yeah. So. Maybe that'll matter. Maybe you'll have a situation when you've got 58 people running where Bernie will only need 7% of the vote and he can get the nomination.
It's possible.
That he knocks a lot of people out and then you're down to 3 or 4 and people may just shrug their shoulders and say, well, let's try Bernie this time because it's his turn. He got screwed in 2016.
You could very well be right about that. And he does have the apparatus, which is a big bonus as well as the money.
Right.
He's got people all over the country willing to go out and knock doors for him. And they seem to like him just as much as they did back then. And it's not like his platform has changed. He is the broken record of all broken records.
And then you add Beto as the vice presidential candidate. Get a young guy in there.
You can't have 2 white men on the same ticket fingers.
Oh, that's true. But I'm just imagining Beto at the convention saying, Mr. Trump, tear down this wall. And everybody will stand and applaud.
No, Bernie has to say that because it'd be so much better coming out of his mouth. Right? Mr. Trump, I tell you to tear down this wall.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I wonder who, you can't have 2 white males on the ticket.
No, I mean, I think the dream would be to put AOC on the ticket with him.
Yeah,
even though she's not legally eligible, but they've got 2 years to fight that. And how many people would just say, nah, we don't really care that much. Yes, I can imagine. You can't? The 2 of them together would be pretty damn funny, though. I mean, I would love to hear, what do you think their conversations are like?
I think you would have Bernie Sanders trying to play nice, but thinking, "Oh, you're such a twit."
You think so?
Oh, of course. I've been doing this forever. You've been here for a cup of coffee, and you're thinking you're going to. I'm the real revolutionary kid, not you. You got a lot to learn. Oh, really? I got a lot to learn. I saw you get pegged last week on CNN. I got a lot to learn. I don't know. I think, in theory, you're right, but there are so many people that would kill to be number 2 on that ticket.
With him, though?
It doesn't matter.
There have to be some pragmatic Democrats that think, oh my God, if he wins this, it's going to be a disaster. If he actually ends up being president, do I want to be attached to that legacy?
It makes you, if you have any political chops at all, it makes you a front runner the following election.
Maybe.
Unless you're somebody like Tim Kaine.
It depends on how awful his presidency is. Like, do you really think he can get anything done, first of all? Like you said, he's afraid of CNN. He had those 2 women take the mic out of his hand. You know, like, what's going to happen if Cocaine Mitch still has the power in the Senate?
See, I don't think he has any problem going up against Republicans.
But
it's his fellow socialists.
He's got to overcome 60 votes in the Senate.
Yeah.
To get his craziness done.
Well, maybe he'll just declare a lot of national emergencies.
He could.
And then you'll see a flip where Democrats will be all for national emergencies.
I still don't think a lot of them want this madness. I think they're tolerating it for the time being and thinking of ways to purge each other. I think the hard left wants to get rid of what they consider to be the moderate left that we consider to be the far left. And then apparently the Blue Dog Democrats still exist. I didn't know this. There's a Blue Dog caucus.
How many people are in
6.
it? Yeah. Okay.
Well, it came up in the context of the kerfuffle earlier this week where they're saying, you know, AOC saying she has a list of Democrats they're going to target to primary them in 2020.
Right.
And this is all because of an amendment they tried to slip into their gun control bill. I guess the Republicans put forward an amendment and 20-something Democrats jumped on it that said, hey, if you're going to do these background checks on everybody, if somebody that's trying to get a gun turns up being an illegal alien, we want people to contact ICE and let them know this. Well, we can't have that. We care more about illegal aliens getting guns than we do protecting American citizens from illegal aliens who want guns. It's madness, but this is where we are. So she's saying we're going to put you on a list. I'm reading about some of these Democrats that were voting with the Republicans on that amendment, and they said something about somebody's being a blue dog. I think it was from Louisiana or something. I thought, oh, those people still exist? I mean, that party is it's such disarray.
What's funny is she's coming up with a list of people who she wants primaried, and she's going to be primaried. They're going to go after her.
I think so. They should. She won her primary with less than 17,000 votes. And how hard is it to run her out of there by saying, hey, she killed 25,000 jobs, was it, that would have come to your district? No, and then to talk about the piece that everybody's dunking on her today about with her all her Lyft rides and Uber rides during her campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all, she wants green everything, and here she is in these gas guzzling cars. Okay, fine, fair enough. But how many times have we heard, Al Gore's flying around the world in his private jet, trying to save everybody from global warming? Look at his carbon footprint. It doesn't work. So here would be my take on that is, why isn't she riding the subway with everyday folks like her? Well, she's too good for that now. She's willing to spend thousands of campaign dollars, keeping as far away from the riffraff that she wants to vote for her as possible.
Oh, that's not true, Tracy. She wore out her campaign shoes, walking and knocking on doors and kissing babies in the pouring rain.
So then that means you can take Ubers from now on?
I'm sure that was that didn't really happen. Has there been an official response from their the campaign, her congressional office to all of this?
No, she responded to it on Twitter.
Oh, I'm sure she did.
She was just like, I'm trying to live in the world, okay? I'm not kidding you. These people think they're getting one over on me for using cars, but like that's what exists right now. So I'm just trying to live in the world.
And she'll get away with it.
I'll get the exact quote for you in a second.
And just like Al Gore got away with all of the carbon footprint bullshit that made him a damn near billionaire while living in a mansion that has a carbon footprint the size of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, I haven't checked lately. What's Al Gore's net worth?
Oh, God.
Again, art of the grift. You go from senator to vice president of the United States. To now, well, this is a 2013 article from the Business Financial Post said he's worth $200 million. I thought he was worth more than that, but didn't he get divorced?
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
Some Robert Kraft massage parlor shenanigans with him. Didn't
the sex poodle. That's what the masseuse called him, right? Yeah, so I found her responses. So she had two different responses to this. So the New York Post ran a headline that says, Ocasio-Cortez leaves parade in 17 miles per gallon minivan, blocks from the subway. So she responded, I'll have you know that my tia, which means aunt in Spanish, for those of you who aren't aware, was very upset that the New York Post insulted her minivan. And then she has a crying emoji, smiling, laughing, crying. If they saw how many goldfish snacks there were in this thing, they'd say I was killing the ocean too. Okay.
Oh, snap.
I know, right? And then she tweeted out later today, I need to admit something to you all. Frankly, I don't know how my environmental reputation can recover. Today, I wrote in a book made of paper. Apparently, using technology means I can't fight for new jobs, investing in infrastructure and renewable energy. But I saw somewhere else her talking about, yeah, of course I'm going to ride in cars. Like that's what exists, but I'm trying to get rid of all of that, of course. That's the subtext.
Somehow I have the sense that when she gets rid of all the cars, she'll still have a car. I don't know.
Of course. Well, that's why I think you go after her for riding in the car when everybody else has to take the subway. It's not about the green stuff. It's about the elitist stuff. If you're one of the people, let's act like one of the people here, kid.
Right.
I want to see you riding the subway. And apparently they're saying the subway stop is a block from her office. You know, both you and I have been to New York. Is it easier to get around in a car or on the subway?
Well, I don't have any experience riding the subway.
Oh.
I've been in a subway station before because I got a haircut there, and there was a place where I could get a quick haircut. There's no way
in the subway station.
Yeah, there's no way in hell I would get on a New York subway. I took I was slaughtering the environment by getting in Ubers, but
this is going on the list of Fingers' irrational fears. Sharks, New York City subway.
Well, I've been on the Washington, D.C. Metro on several occasions, but there's something about that. I mean, listen, I've seen a lot of Law and Order and Hill Street Blues over the years. I don't want anything to do with the New York subway. And did you see the recent video of an MS-13 shooting right next to a subway train where someone decided, hey, looks like two guys are fighting. I'm going to pull out a phone. And all of a sudden there was gunfire. And then they decided, oh, maybe this isn't a good idea. And they ran. Yeah, that kind of, no, thank you. I don't want anything to do with that. So I actually don't blame the AOC for not getting on subways, but I don't claim to be a man of the people.
Right.
So,
right. That's my point.
By the way, according to Celebrity Net Worth, Al Gore is worth $300 million.
Oh, good.
Go from senator to vice president of the United States to $300 million. How does that happen?
I don't know. We should tax that, though.
Right? An Inconvenient Truth pulled in over $24 million domestically. So, couldn't have been that.
No.
I mean, I'm not a mathematician.
Shit.
Yeah.
Honestly. I thought that movie would have made a lot more money. That's just box office, right?
Domestic box office.
Okay.
You have experience in Hollywood. That film, that wouldn't have cost much to put together, would it? I mean, really?
I don't know. With something like that, they probably spent the most money on releases and stuff. So paying for music and anything silly like that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember. I don't know if you ever watched it. Gavin McInnes's movie How to Be a Man.
I still haven't watched that.
It's really good. It used to be on Netflix, but he wrote it. I think he wrote it and he starred it and all this kind of stuff. So they made it on the cheap. I think they told me they made it for $250,000, and the majority of that was just paying for music rights. Like, it's crazy how much that stuff can cost you. So I don't know, and I would imagine anybody that was in it probably donated their time. So maybe $1 million if they're paying fat salaries to people that don't deserve it.
And he's not getting that whole $24 million, obviously.
No, wasn't.
So where did the $300 million come from?
No, he gets paid to speak. I'm sure he made a sequel.
I can't think of anyone who is more electrifying on stage, who I'd pay several $1,000 to see speak more than Al Gore. I mean, he is Mr. Electricity. God.
Oh. Yeah.
The art of the grift.
He's up there. We aspire to be as successful as he is at this.
$300 million. I mean, he left office in 2001, and in 17 years was able, and not even 17 years. I would love to know what his net worth was in 2008.
This is the kind of stuff that keeps you awake at night, isn't it?
Well, it drives me crazy. I mean, I got to hear about Donald Trump's tax return.
Right.
Which, again, okay, fine, but can we have a discussion regarding how congressmen can go in on a base congressman's salary and then after being in office for 10 years leave a millionaire several times over? How does that happen?
Yeah, how rich do you think AOC will be in 10 years? 10 years.
Oh! She'll own Uber in 10 years.
Yeah. They'll put her on their board at least.
That's the thing. You're put on boards. You don't have to show up. You just collect a paycheck. You give $500,000 speeches. It's the same speech over and over again. And then, what do you know? You go from, we left the White House broke, to 8 years later, you're Scrooge McDuck having showers with gold coins in the air, waving them like you just don't care. The grift. And that was one of the things at CPAC that drove me nuts. Leading up to CPAC, I saw a bunch of people who are pretending to be right-wing thought leaders on Twitter. The columnists, the glorified bloggers on the right bitching about the speakers list, saying things like, oh, did you see the speakers list? They have some grifters on there. Clearly, all this conference wants to do is make money. Well,
yeah.
We're against that now? There's something wrong with a conference wanting, an organization throwing a conference wanting to make money? We're against that?
That's what conferences are, aren't they?
I thought that's what they were. I thought that's what it was for. People aren't just doing stuff out of the kindness of their hearts.
Yeah, and you're not leaving with a timeshare.
But these people are grifters. Well, what does that mean? The whole system's a freaking grift.
Right.
The whole thing. Because some people are better at it than you. You're pissed. Yeah, I heard people complaining about Diamond and Silk are there. It's awful. Who gives a shit?
I find them delightful.
Well, look, we've talked about this before. You're not waking up in the morning, something happens in North Korea, and you think, I wonder what Diamond and Silk's take is on this.
No, but if I see it come up, I might listen because I know it's going to be funny. And it'll be different than anybody else's.
I don't think they're claiming to be thought leaders. I don't think, they're just doing their thing. And they're
not going after distinguished fellowships at National Review.
But now they're grifters. What?
God bless them. They worked hard. They put out a ton of content.
Yeah.
And they built an audience organically. So stop hating on Diamond and Silk. I'm sending this over to them, by the way, so that we can get them on.
Okay. We need to ask Gavin McInnes to come back on, too.
Yes, we do.
It's one of the best guests we've ever had. We had him on, I think, one of the first 10 episodes we had Gavin on. And we were interviewing him, and he was riding his bike through the streets of New York while he was talking to us. It's funny as hell. Oh.
Yes, I believe that episode is called Helmets Are for Retards.
Yeah, we need to have him on again. We just don't do guests much anymore.
No, it's hard.
It is. Well,
they're all a bunch of grifters, and
right?
You don't have time for us.
Well, we're an hour and 15 minutes in, Tracy.
Are we?
Yeah.
That flew.
Yeah, I think it's gym time for you and nap time for me. How's that sound?
You got to go to work, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Well, listen, you can catch the Enough Already podcast on SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, Google Play, BitChute, and now we're doing a video podcast. You can actually see us talking. So you can see us both in HD, which works for you if you're looking at Tracy, not so much if you're looking at a middle-aged man like me. But we'll be available. That's on YouTube, Tracy. It's exciting.
It is.
Are we putting the videos on BitChute too?
Yes.
So
of course.
You can catch the new video podcast on YouTube and BitChute. Did I miss anything?
Just enoughalready.us, where if you forget all the other stuff, you can find everything over there. I've been putting the videos up.
Well, there you go.
Fingers keeps promising that he's going to start making content daily, so everybody stay on him on that.
Yes. I may have a lot of content this week because I got a video camera, a webcam that I used at CPAC, and I recorded all of the videos or all the interviews on video as well. So maybe I'll start putting some videos up. Cool. I got to check. Last time I checked, though, I didn't have my page.
Oh, it's not ready yet because I don't want to have blank pages up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you give me some content to get a page. That's how it works.
Oh, working. She's a real ball buster, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sure that surprises no one.
Final thoughts?
My favorite thing of last week, which we didn't get to talk about, that I'm very upset about, was the same day that Cohen was testifying and Trump was over in Vietnam dealing with the Korean situation. At about 4 p.m., I noticed Alex Jones is back on Joe Rogan's podcast.
All right, let's talk about this for a couple minutes.
And the entire internet snapped their heads right over to that video. Gave up on Cohen, gave up on caring. At that point, it was, in the middle of the night over in Vietnam. So there's nothing really going on with the president, but it's like, whoa, Jones is back. And Rogan had him after all this. And I think we talked about it, that Alex had gone out and put video of Rogan talking about going and seeing Planet of the Apes, that given today's climate is just completely unacceptable. But This was a marathon longer than the last time that Alex was on. They talked for close to 5 hours.
Good Lord, how on earth? Did you watch the whole thing?
I have watched the whole thing.
Oh,
Listen to.
God.
No, and I'm going to go back and do some more of it because there's so much to catch. See, I love Rogan, and I find Jones to be absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And He sounds insane. Like we've talked about this before, but there are nuggets of gold in there. And so I want to catch all of it. So I feel like I need to take notes while he's talking because there's no reining him in at all. So he'll just drop all these little tidbits like, oh yeah, there's this nuclear reactor under the University of Texas. They've got their own new thing that they're setting up, a breakaway civilization fingers. That's what they're doing. Oh yeah, NASA's a secret government. CIA is a secret government. The CIA is actually British intelligence plus American intelligence. We basically took over the Brits after World War I. We just subsumed them. They're part of it. Oh my God. And then the aliens, which he talked about last time. So it's interdimensional alien beings that members of the CIA and other government agencies, probably NASA, which is a rogue government, are taking hallucinogens, specifically DMT. And the story has been, if you've ever, listened to anybody talk about DMT experiences, which Rogan talks about from time to time, people report seeing these entities that come and talk to them. And it's like kind of uniform across the board. People are seeing the same things. Mm-hmm. So according to Jones, these are actually aliens, interdimensional aliens that members of our rogue governments, these breakaway governments.
Does Xenu have anything to do with this?
Of course. Come on.
I'm telling you.
So that they're taking DMT and then going and having high-level discussions with them.
It's such a shame because I've heard him go on rants before talking about the left and how they're trying to destroy America. And I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, it sounds good. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, go, they'll say something like, well, and on top of that, Woody Woodpecker is CIA, we know it, everybody knows it. You're like, oh, what? Oh, crazy town. And just like that, it's gone.
He did manage to get in a rant that went pretty viral the day of about the Born Alive bill that was passed, or not passed, excuse me, that the Democrats, all of them who are running for president, voted against it. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty straightforward, cut and dry. Like if a baby is born during the performance of an abortion and it lives, you must save the baby's life. Do everything within your power to save the baby's life. And every Democrat that's running for president that's in the Senate voted against this. So Jones raised that and lost his mind, like veins popping out of his neck, screaming about how they're admitting to killing babies now. But then he has to go further and say, well, that's because they want, the thing with Northam talking about it, he gave up the game, which is they don't resuscitate these babies in front of the mothers. They take them out of there, resuscitate them somewhere else, send them off to this wing that's owned by China or something. Then they keep them until they can send the truck that's going to take them, and then they're going to harvest their organs and sell them on the black market. He's like, a baby goes for $500,000, Joe. Where is he getting this information? But Rogan doesn't nail him down and saying, okay, where can we find all of this?
It's got to be difficult. It's got to be like trying to interview a tornado. It's unbelievable. Oh, damn it. Now I'm going to have to watch it. I still haven't gotten any further in season 2 of the Leah Remini Scientology show. But
You've got a lot of viewing ahead of you.
I do. Well, I got tripped up when I was at CPAC. I was in my room really early, like every night for the most part, except for one night I went to the casino. But most nights by midnight, maybe. Yeah, and so I didn't think to watch the Leah Remini show. I remembered that The League is back on Hulu, so I went back watching The League. Yeah, so
yeah.
But now I'm gonna have to go watch Alex Jones on Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
he does a fantastic job, and he does catch some unnecessary flack. Like I think that he caught some. I think it's kind of bullshit how people got all up on him over the interview with Jack from Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, okay. It's like people getting pissed at Jimmy Fallon for not getting political. I mean, it's not in his wheelhouse to get confrontational. He's just a chill dude that's really smart, that knows how to interview people and tries to find common ground. I think it's refreshing to see that instead of the dumbed down crossfire bullshit that you see on cable news every day. So, well, okay, so we got to catch Alex Jones on Joe Rogan. Anything else?
No, you can also catch Dr. Phil was on Rogan last week.
I did see a clip of him talking about the Cash Me Outside girl.
Which I had never heard of. And I'm like, what is this? Cash Me Outside. Now I know. I Googled it.
That was the hot 15-minute internet sensation. What, a year ago?
Apparently.
Something like that.
And then he also had David Lee Roth on.
No.
You'll like that. Yep.
Did you watch it?
I listened to some of it when I was trying to fall asleep.
How bad was it? Oh, Dave.
He's pretty wacky.
That's such a shame.
Yeah.
That band could have been so good.
Sorry, Fingers.
Yeah, it breaks my heart.
Right.
All right. Let's wrap this up. She's Tracy. I'm Fingers. We'll be back soon with another Enough Already podcast.